Have you ever felt like you're the only one showing up in your own life? Like everyone around you has a spare key to your time, your energy, your peace, but you don't even have a copy for yourself? If that hit a little too close to home, stay with me, because this isn't just a story. It might be the wake-up call you didn't know you needed. In a small village tucked between misty hills, there lived a man named Elias. He wasn't rich, he wasn't famous, but everyone knew his name. If a neighbor's cow got loose, Elias was the one chasing it through the fields. If a child lost their favorite toy, Elias would spend hours searching. If someone needed a few coins to get through the week, Elias would give without expecting anything back. He was the kind of person people called a blessing, and for a long time, Elias believed that too. But here's the thing no one tells you about being the village helper. It's lonely. While Elias was busy fixing everyone else's world, his own was quietly falling apart. His roof had a leak that had been there since the last monsoon. His front gate hung loose on one hinge. His mother's medicine sat on the shelf because he forgot to pick it up, too busy helping a friend build a shed. At night, he'd lie on his creaky bed and stare at the ceiling, wondering why he felt so empty when everyone around him seemed so grateful. One evening, a knock came at his door. It was Ramesh, a man from the other end of the village. His cart had broken down on the way back from the market, and he needed help pulling it home. Elias didn't hesitate. He grabbed his coat and followed Ramesh into the dark. They worked for hours under the faint light of a lantern, fixing the wheel, unloading the heavy sacks, and pushing the cart through muddy paths. By the time Elias got home, it was past midnight. He was drenched in sweat, his back ached, and his hands were blistered. But he smiled, thinking, this is what being good feels like. The next morning, he woke up to find his mother struggling to start a fire because there was no firewood. He had forgotten to chop it. Again. He rushed outside to the pile of logs, but his arms were too sore from the night before. He couldn't lift the axe, so he sat there on the cold ground, and for the first time in years, Elias cried. Not because he was tired, but because he realized no one had ever asked him if he needed help. No one ever came to chop his wood. That afternoon, an old woman named Durga stopped by his fence. She was known in the village for speaking truths that stung. She looked at Elias, at the sagging gait, at the unwashed clothes he'd been wearing for 2 days, and she said, "Elias, you give water to everyone's garden, but yours is full of weeds. Why?" Elias opened his mouth to explain, but no words came, because she was right. Durga sat down on the broken step next to him and said, "Let me tell you a secret. The world does not love you for what you do for it. The world loves what it can take. And if you keep giving without ever stopping to fill your own well, one day you'll have nothing left to give, not even to yourself." Elias looked at her, confused. "But if I stop helping, who will?" he asked. Durga smiled and said, "Try it, just for 1 week. Say no to one thing, even if it feels wrong, and see what happens." The next morning, Elias woke up with a strange feeling in his chest. Nervousness, maybe, or hope. Around noon, a neighbor came running. His goat had fallen into a ditch, and he needed Elias to help pull it out. Elias opened his mouth to say yes, but then he paused. He looked at his own yard, at the firewood still untouched, at his mother waiting for him to fix the stove, and he said, "I'm sorry, I can't today." The neighbor's face twisted in surprise. He muttered something under his breath and left. Elias felt a knot in his stomach. He had let someone down, but he also felt something else, a tiny flicker of relief. For the first time, he had chosen himself. That afternoon, he chopped the firewood. It was hard work, but it was his work. That evening, he sat with his mother by a warm fire, and she smiled at him in a way she hadn't in years. Over the next few days, Elias kept his promise. He said no to fixing a fence. He said no to lending money. He said no to running errands. And each time, the guilt got a little smaller. He started noticing things he'd been blind to before. The way people only knocked when they needed something. The way they never asked how he was doing. The way his name was called only when something was broken. One evening, a storm rolled in. The wind howled and the rain hammered against the windows. Elias sat inside his home, warm and dry, listening to the storm rage outside.
He thought about all the times he had run out into weather like this to save someone else's belongings, leaving his own vulnerable. But not this time. This time, he stayed. And when the storm passed, he walked outside and looked at his yard. A few branches had fallen. A puddle had formed near the gate, but his roof held. His firewood was dry, and for the first time, he felt proud. Not of what he had done for others, but of what he had done for himself. Weeks passed. The village noticed the change. At first, there was gossip. Elias has become selfish, they whispered. But Elias didn't argue. He just kept tending his garden, fixing his gate, spending time with his mother. And slowly, something shifted. People stopped treating him like a resource. They started treating him like a person. They invited him to meals not to ask for favors, but just to sit and talk. They asked about his day. They noticed his garden blooming. And Elias realized something powerful. The respect he had always wanted never came from giving everything away. It came from keeping something for himself. One afternoon, Durga walked by and saw him sitting on his porch, drinking tea, watching the sunset. She smiled and said, "So, Elias, did the village collapse without you?" Elias laughed, a real laugh, and said, "No, it actually got a little quieter, and I got a little stronger." Durga nodding and said, "That's because you finally understood. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and the world will never fill it for you." So here's the question I have to ask you. Are you Elias? Are you running yourself empty for people who never even notice when you're gone? Are you saying yes until your voice gives out? If you are, I want you to hear this. Saying no is not cruelty. It is courage. It is choosing your own peace over someone else's convenience. It is looking in the mirror and saying, "I matter too." Your time is not a borrowing bin. Your heart is not a public square. Guard them, because the moment you start valuing yourself, the world will have no choice but to value you back. If this story spoke to you, if it made you feel seen, then do something for yourself right now. Hit that subscribe button, not for me, for you, as a reminder that you are choosing to invest in content that helps you grow. And share this video with someone who gives too much. They might need to hear it more than you know. Until next time, take care of yourself first. The world will wait.